Alright, Kumar is on his chair, ready to learn the process of character design. He's ready to solve the questions that he has. Now, there are some things that he needs to keep in mind while doing this. He needs to approach it in the right manner. So he needs to know what character design is, why he's doing character designs, and actually, at the end of it, how to do it. What, why, and how. So the thing with this is this. When it comes to me, whenever I'm learning something, I gotta define the thing that I'm learning. I gotta know what that thing is. So that is what part of character design. This class is separated into 3 sections. If you didn't get that, by the way, what, why, and how. So I gotta know what I'm learning, and I gotta define that thing properly. And this definition is slightly different from the ones that we have used in the previous courses. Next is why. All right, I know what is character design. The thing is, why should I learn it, right? There's the what and the how. How do I learn character design and what is character design? But the thing is, why should I actually go ahead and do this thing? What is the purpose behind it? What is the reason behind it? You as an individual, and that also solves the questions for what and how. The last is how to do character designs, right? You gotta know what character design is. You gotta know why you're doing it. Then, of course, at the end of it, you need to know how to do it. So these are the 3 things. All these 3 things support each other, right? You knowing what is character design helps you why you're doing character design and how to do it. And learning why you're doing it helps with the what and the how. And of course, when you learn how to do things, right, which is the how part, you will automatically answer what and the why. With that said, let us define the thing that we're trying to learn, shall we? So what is character design, Keshav? Tell me the answer now so that we can go on and just start designing our own characters. We'll get to that, don't worry. Patience, my Padawans. Alright, so you gotta know what is character design. Now, the word character design is 2 words in and of itself, right? Character and design. So I'm gonna go ahead and just explain those 2 things for you. What is a character? Think about it. If you just think about some random person and say, man, he's one hell of a character, right? Or the person you probably know who's probably different, and you say, man, that guy or a girl, man, he or she is one hell of a character. What do you mean when you say that? It can be actually a good remark or a bad remark. But the thing is, when you say something like that, you're probably thinking about a set of things that they do, set of things that they say, or the way they look, or a set of personality traits. A list of traits, a combination of traits that they have, which makes you go ahead and think and say, that's one hell of a character, right? So that's what a character is, right? It's a combination or a set of personality or visual traits. Now, we're in the world of visual arts. Me and you, right? We're doing visual design right here. So for us, a character is mostly and always is a combination of visual traits. It's visual. We're doing something visual here. When you're designing a character for a novel, of course, a set of words that define a character, good enough. But when you're doing something that is visual, you need to actually also define the words which informs the visual, right? So you got to keep those 2 things in mind. So what is a character? It's a combination or a set of personality traits that defines a person. A visual trait, set of personality or visual traits that defines a person. That is a character. Now you're probably like, all right, Keshav, I know what a character is, right? I know what it is. Now tell me what is design. Just quickly, man. Tell me what these things are. Well, what is design, my friend? Well, this is what design is. I'm going to surprise you, actually. Design is making decisions. Well, what? That's it? That's what design is? Well, I don't know. I don't think that's the right definition right there, you might say. Well, think about it. Let's say you're designing a poster to communicate an idea. Say you are going on a drawing camp trip, right? You're going on a drawing camp trip where you're drawn all along and you need to design a poster because you're the designer, right? You're making a poster with things like fonts and patterns and colors and images in it, and you're making decisions every moment when you do those things. You're choosing the kind of font that you have to use, the size of the font, how big or small the heading should be, how big or small the copy, meaning the things or the information about the camp should be, where should be the image placed, what color of that image, how should the image look like, what is the style of it, what is this, what is that, how should it flow here and there, how should the placements be, All these things are decisions. You're making tiny, tiny, tiny individual small decisions together, put together, makes up a design. For what? To communicate or tell a story or an idea. That's what you're doing, right? You're designing a poster for a drawing camp that you're going on, right? Or you're probably on, right? So you gotta have a purpose. You're having a purpose, which is you're making decisions to communicate an idea or a story. That is design. That is the definition of design. To make this more easier for you, think about the logo of Nike, for example, right? Their idea is this. They're communicating the idea of just do it. Just go ahead and do it, right? That is their idea. They could have done this using multiple ways, different ways. They could have decided with saying, you know what, I'm just going to write it and just say it to people. Instead, what they did was they just used a very unique tick mark to define their company and their message. That is the decision that they've made. A tick mark doesn't mean just do it, but with their clever marketing and their campaigns, they've integrated this idea that their tick mark, their unique tick mark, is related to that slogan and message. Same goes with Apple. Apple could mean different things for different people, different on based on say what they relate to. For me, the design of Apple, the logo, goes ahead and says think different. They're doing products and creating products that are very different, unique, and that solves a very good problem. For some people, it might mean expensive products, right? For most Indians out there, like Apple, man, that is expensive. I ain't going near that thing anyway. I'm just going to go ahead with Android, right? Like that. Right? So that's what Apple means. Take the flag of Japan, for example. They made a decision right there to represent the sun with just a single red circle in the middle. They could have represented their idea, right? That's the land of the rising sun. That is the idea that they're trying to communicate, and they could have done it 1,000 ways. They could have drawn a mountain and just put a sun in the middle and say, man, that is the design right there. But they didn't do it because that's a bad design actually, and I know some political parties that do have that, right? But they just went ahead and said simplicity. I'm going to represent it in this way, because they had different versions where it had rays and suns and all that thing, you know. That was one way of representing it, but this one represents it best. So what is a design? You make a decision. You make multiple decisions, tiny individual ones. For what? To communicate the idea or the story in the best way possible. Now, with that said, this is what character design is. Character design is a process where you're selecting, deciding, modifying, and interpreting a set of visual traits to convey an idea or a story. That is character design. You have these multiple visual traits, right? You got these multiple visual traits on this character right here. You got the hat, you got the nose, the mustache, the way he holds his thing, the way he stands, the patterns on his coat. All these things are individual visual traits that you have decided to place that to communicate this guy is one rich businessman, is probably in his old age, and saying, hey, you know what? I'm just chilling in the most schmuckiest way possible. That is what I think when I'm looking at this, right? These are visual traits that they're put together through your decisions. This is what character design is, and you need to keep this in mind throughout the entirety of the next 2 chapters. To give you another example, right? Let's say someone comes up to you and says, hey man, I want you to design a character. And the character exists in this dystopian world, future planet where there is no oxygen, everything is just garbage, nothing is there, you know, people have evacuated, there's no life on this planet, and there's this character that is existing in that planet. And you might ask, what is that character doing? Well, that character is right there to clean stuff. That's what they do. They clean stuff, they dispose garbage. It's like, okay, all right, you're thinking, well, if it's a dystopian future, that character probably, you know, there's no probably sign of life, then this character should probably be a machine. It can be a human life, right? So you're doing that, and you're saying, okay, if it's a garbage processor, then it needs some sort of a container to carry and process garbage. Okay, you got that. And then if there is no life on that planet, there's not going to be oxygen. So the character needs to power itself. It needs sustenance, right? So what do you think? Well, I think it can actually use the sun to power itself. Maybe some sort of a solar powering system should be over there. It needs to be an all-terrain character, meaning it needs to have some sort of a thing that helps it move along multiple and different kinds of terrain in an easier and a faster fashion. Then it needs to have some basic intelligence to look at garbage and say, this is garbage, this is not garbage. I gotta take this thing, process it, and put it back right there, right? So some sort of basic intelligence and a vision to look at things and a hand to probably pick up garbage. So if you just combine all this, you have the character of WALL-E. If you look at it, look at that. A box, a container to process garbage, a sun capturing system, a solar panel on its chest so that it can charge itself, an all-terrain leg right there, and sort of like a, what do you call that thing? Chain-based wheel, which helps it sort of go through all kinds of terrains, and hands to pick and process garbage. Basic intelligence and eyes to sort of look at things. This is the character. This is the character that fits in that world. What you do with this character is storytelling. What happens after this with this character is storytelling. But right now, you got this character. This is your base. This is your design. Your character doesn't exactly need to be human in nature. It can be anything. It can be like a little poop sitting on a toilet, or a little dragon, or a banana, or a marshmallow. It doesn't matter. The principles are the same. The principles that we're going to cover in this chapter and the next one are the same for everything. You can use these things to design your own characters, different kinds of characters. But mostly we're going to focus on humanoid and creature-based characters. Humanoid meaning human-like, and creature-based meaning animals-like, right? So these are the characters that we are going to focus on, but you can use these principles into other things as well to design other kinds of characters as well. So that is the what of character design. What is character design? This is what it is. It is you deciding what visual traits need to be put together to communicate your idea or your story. All right, next is why. Well, Keshav, buddy, I don't know why you're going through this all these things, man. I don't get it. Why you're going through what, why, and how? Well, I'm trying to lay a good solid foundation for you, because me being able to think through all of these things is what that gave me the ability to draw the way I do and design the kind of characters I'm doing right now. So these are all the intangible mindset shifts that we talked about in the previous chapter. The soil. With that said, why are you designing characters? Well, this is going to be a quick one, because I'm going to tell you folks, right? Everybody has their own ideas. Everyone has their own stories to tell. There's something so innate about the human nature which I don't understand, which just wants to tell stories. Even though they are probably false or probably unreal, but they just want to tell those stories. Or sometimes it could be so true. It could be mythological, but it could be so true that resonates with you on a deeper level. Everybody wants to tell a story, but the thing is, you can't just tell a story. Hey, you know what? There's this land, and there's just that. You can't just stop that, right? Well, you'll be asking, wait, is there someone on that land? Are they doing something? What are they going through? Are they going to go through an adventure where they're going to go and fight a dragon in the castle? Well, how are you going to do that? You need something. You need a piece, a visual mascot, something that can actually go through that land, go through that story, explore that ideas that you want to explore, tell the story that you want to tell. So that's what a character is. A character is a visual mascot, right? And for you to do this process of character designing, you need to learn the process of designing a visual mascot so that you can tell a story or an idea that you want to communicate. Think about it like this. You cannot play chess with just the board. You need pieces, you need coins, you need something to move things around, and each coin represents a particular thing. That is your character. It's a container, a visual mascot for you to tell your stories. And that's why you're doing this. That's what I'm doing this, right? And if you think about it, reason could be different on a different scale, but at the end of the day, we can all relate to this aspect and relate to this idea that a character is a visual mascot or an icon that represents something. It's a symbol that represents something which goes through a land or through a story for you to explore different ideas, concepts, and things. Think about the movie Inside Out, for example, right? It's literally an example of the visual mascot. The emotions of anger, sadness, joy, fear, disgust have been literally placed inside these characters, represented as a symbol using these characters. So these emotions can be literally explored. You can see these characters go through these emotions, right? So this is a perfect example, right, of the idea that a character is a symbol and a representation. And we all want to tell stories. We all want to communicate ideas, right? And we need something. We need a coin. We need a piece to actually go through that particular field and explore these ideas and stories. So that is why I'm designing characters, and that is why I'm assuming you're probably designing characters as well. With that said, now you're thinking, Keshav, all right, man, enough with the talk, enough with the blah, 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 right? Give me the answer. Give me the answer for this thing. How do you do it? Now we're on to the action part of it. Now all these mindset shift has happened. Now we're on to the area of information. Now is the time that we start applying things from moving on, right? Not literally today, but after this prep day, we'll be moving on to the action part of things. So you're asking how? You know what? You know why? Now the thing is to answer, how do you design characters? And most of you probably know the answer for this thing, which is through principles. Well, what? Well, you might be thinking, like, right, how principles gonna be useful for me, right? Think about it for a second. When you're sitting on that table, in front of your paper, with your pencil, your pen, your tablet, or whatever, and you're sitting down right there and thinking, I need to design a character, but you don't have no direction. You don't have no place to go or how to start. What do? You need some sort of compass. You need some sort of a direction to move towards so that you can get into the process of it and explore and design your character. Principles are like that. Principles are like a compass. Principles give you a way or a guide to act. Everyone has principles on a human level, right? I'm honest. I don't tell lies. I do the right thing. I do this. I do that. That is my principle. When I wake up in the morning, out of bed, and think about how should I probably go about the day, my principles guide me. Keshav, you have the principle of taking care of yourself. So you probably need to be exercising instead of eating that waffle, right? So that is the principle right there, right? It's a guide for you to act. It's like a compass. It doesn't give you an exact specific path, but rather it's just a compass that gives you a direction to move towards. You can define the path, but it gives you a direction. So design principles give you a set of processes to design your own characters. That is the thing. They are action-based. Design principles are action-based. That's what these chapters are all about. Character design principles. They are action-based. They give you a process or a way to work on your characters, to work on creating your characters. You need to think about it like this. When someone asks you to sort of dance, right, all of a sudden they ask you, hey, you know what, go ahead and dance. Like, you might be, if you're not a dancer like me, you might be thinking, okay, you will probably do the weird Quentin Tarantino dance move that you do in your high school. Yeah, not a good move. But the thing is, right, that's all the dance move that you know. That dance move is actually giving you a start. That dance move is sort of like a principle. If you take, say, a dance like dance genre like hip hop, for example, they have multiple different steps in that. You can actually learn hip hop in a structured way. They have the shuffle, they have the b-boying, I think it's part of the thing. They have something that where they do their legs like this and so weird. Then they do some sort of like a drag or something. Each and every single thing is a dance move, and each and every dance move has particular steps to it. You put your leg right here and right here in this position in this timing, and you repeat that, you got a dance move. You take these dance moves, you put together, you get a choreography. That is what principles are. Each and every principle is like a dance move. It shows you what to do and how to do it. And at the end of the day, you need to take all these principles and put them together to form your own choreography, to form your own character designs. If you just take these principles, right, and just randomly put it together, it just looks like mechanical. That's not how dance works. Dance is more freestyle, right? When the music turns on, you go crazy. You do that artistic version of your dance. You don't just do like, you know what, on the 10th second and the 15th thing, I need to do the 30th move. That's mechanical. That's not art. That's mechanics. That's the difference between art and mechanics. Art is very unrealistic, uncertain. It's chaotic. That is what these things are. That's how you need to sort of approach these things. Once you learn these principles, these are like dance moves, which gives you a direction. And once you learn these things, you put them all together to form your own choreography, and it should be uncertain. It should be in a very freestyle, free-flowing manner. That is the difference between a good artist and a great artist. Good artist, mechanical combination. Oh, I take this, put this together. But a great artist, he knows how to play with it. He knows how to dance with it. That's what they say. Dance with it, right? So that is the thing. That is why I'm comparing this to dance, and that is how to do character design. We're going to be focusing on principles throughout the next chapter. We have different principles of design which will help you, which will guide you, or will give you a direction on how to start and how to go about the process of designing. And there are multiple principles, but the thing is, we're going to focus on the core principles, right? And once we focus on the core principles, we're going to have, say, multiple subset of principles underneath their core principles, which will sort of help you with your process. So these are the core principles we're going to be covering through the next 2 chapters. The principle of simplicity, the principle of representation, the principles of shape, language and variation, the principle of gesture, flow and rhythm, forms and construction, balance and imbalance, exaggeration, distortion, modification, clarity, silhouettes and contrast. These are the things, these are the core principles that we're going to focus on, that I focus on when I'm designing my own characters. And if you do that, I think you'll be able to do what I'm doing, probably way better than me actually. So these are what we're going to be focusing on. Now, these are going to be way more in-depth than the previous course that we had in the SCAM, the character design process. That is just taking you through the process of character design. Right here, we're going to be focusing on a principle basis, meaning we're going to focus on the individuality of the principle, how it can be applied individually, and what are the exercises, the detailed practices that you can do, not just during the process of designing one character. You'll be able to design multiple different kinds of characters in multiple variations, in multiple formats, right? So we're going to drill each and every single one of these principles into our head through hardcore practice. So those are the things. I hope you have a bigger picture. What is character design? Why are we doing it? And how to do it. How do you do it? Principles. To know the principles. At the end of the day, even though you know the principles, what do you got to do? You got to dance with it, which we'll probably learn in the future. But first, let's get the basics down. Let's get the basics down. Then we'll know how to dance with things.